Welcome, everyone. Good boy, Tucker. This is learning at its most fun.
Hi, welcome to another Thursday webinar. With me, I'm Jacqueline Anderson, one of your trainers here at Redtail. And I'm so happy to have you all back. Today, we will be covering our tag groups, keywords, and UDFs. Now, these guys are super important, especially if you're someone who's already using a high-level overview, like a status or a category for storing information. And you're asking yourself, hey, I need a way that I can identify clients, maybe on a more micro level, maybe with some more specific pieces of information, or with information that I cannot find a place to put in the system anywhere. Today, our best friends are going to be tag groups, keywords, and UDFs. But I understand that can be a little overwhelming. So we're going to go over in a little bit more detail what each of these different features does, how they're separate from each other, and how they can potentially work together as well. So let's jump right in here. We're going to go right into our system like magic here. Perfect. And from here, we're going to start by discussing keywords first. So what we can do to begin, we're going to start with our keywords first. Now, keywords are predefined selections within the system. They're used to group similar contacts together or to place a defining phrase, yes or no question, or word on the client profile. My favorite examples for these would be things like products or particular features that your clients are interested in, or potentially even big client events that maybe you want to itemize if a client would be interested in those. Now, we can add those to the system by coming up to our name in the top right-hand corner and coming down to manage your account. Now, I will give a disclaimer that you do need to have administrative access in order to create new keywords and add new options. But once you're in the admins only portion, we're able to click on our manage database lists. And from here, we can come into our manage lists list on the right-hand side and scroll down to our contact heading where we can find keywords right under categories. Excellent. So this is where we can add a new keyword. We would just come up to our little blue button, hit add, and type in really any word that you can think of. That's the cool thing about keywords is it's only limited by maybe your imagination and by potentially what your office needs. Now, like I said, keywords are meant to be just a phrase or a word or a yes or no question that's really easy to identify on the client profile. So some of the examples that we have in here, which don't be afraid if you don't see any in your system, it's most likely because you haven't made any yet. So all you would need to do is just come and add a couple. But like I said, they're great for tracking different types of products, as well as maybe what kind of client they are, because we want to keep status and category as, like I said earlier, that high level overview that makes us really at a glance able to see what the client is doing in the system. Keywords add an additional layer that allow us to understand, okay, so they're in the system, they're an active client, but now the keyword is telling us what kind of products do they use? What are they interested in learning more about? Did they attend a seminar? So it's easy for us to come in here, add a new word or phrase, and now what we can do is go on the client profile. So we can go into one of our clients here. Oh, let's go into Mr. Buzz Lightyear. And now that we have our keywords created, we can scroll down to the middle section. Oh, it's on UDFs. Don't worry, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But we can come over to our first section on the left-hand side and add a new keyword from here. So all we would need to do is hit add. And then look, we can add any number of those keywords that we saw earlier. And like I said, they can be events, they can be products, they can be just yes or no questions that we want to stick on the client profile. So then later what we can do is, wow, Buzz has a lot of keywords. But now that we have this extra piece of information on the profile, we can either run a report or we can search off of it. So once you have kind of this little identifier now on the contact card, we can then go into our advanced search. And under type, you're actually able to run specifically by contact keywords. And our field populates to keyword, which is really nice. And we can say, okay, I want to see all of my 401k participants in the system. And what's cool is this search will pull up all those clients in one consistent list for you. Now from here, we can also come over to the reports tab in the left-hand side. And if we scroll down to contact reports, you can also run a report of contacts by keyword. So from here, I would recommend coming up to the filter button, selecting the keywords that you'd like to identify, and then selecting apply filters. And it's going to pull up all those contacts that have those particular keywords attached to them. Now, if maybe you wanted to add another keyword on to clients that already had, a 401k, or like I think we chose 401k active advising and beneficiary. So if you had a client who maybe you said, wow, I want all of my 401k clients to also be added as a beneficiary, we could take the information in here, click the search button, send it back to the advanced search, which is really cool. And then we could actually select all of those contacts, come up to contact options, click bulk actions, and assign keywords in bulk as well. So we don't need to just go into the client profile and add it manually. We can add it in bulk too. That is always a nice trick to keep kind of up your sleeve to save yourself some clicks in the future. Now, next we have something called user-defined fields. And similar to keywords, user-defined fields are going to be found up in your name in the top right-hand corner. And come down to manage your account. And we're going to go back down to that admins only portion and head into manage database lists. And then once again, that list portion, come down to contacts, and it should be under user-defined field. Now, a user-defined field is a little different from a keyword because it acts as a response to its selected field name. So we can pick different responses as opposed to a keyword where it's just one word or phrase. Now, you can also use this to track details about the client that maybe aren't on the profile, which is really cool. So it's kind of like a DIY field within Redtail. Now, similar to a keyword though, you're just going to come up if you wanted to add a new one and click this little blue button. And we'll fill in the name for our new user-defined field first. Now, one of my favorite examples to use is RMDs. So there's no dedicated way to track RMDs within Redtail. So what we can do is create UDFs or a series of UDFs to help us track the information. So I'm going to say my RMD 2020. Actually, we'll say 2023. We're jumping out a little bit. We're trying to prepare for the future. Now what we can do is select a field type. So this is where it really differs from keywords specifically. What we can do from here is come in and then we can say, okay, we want an any text field to be an option. So we can just put in whatever information we'd like it to be. We can say we want to put in a date or a list of values potentially. So if we wanted to add a list of values or options, we could say maybe, did they take out their RMD? Yes, no. And then maybe we'll add an unknown option. Cool. We can also put in a number or just a numerical value if maybe we wanted to see how much they took out. And then we could select true or false or yes or no. So if you wanted to have a way to report, did they take their RMDs out? And just wanted a nice and easy phrase. Perfect. For this guy, I'm going to do an any text because that way we can just put in all of our information if we need it and add that user-defined field. Now, similar once again to a keyword, we're going to go back to that particular client profile. One last thing I will point out before we add a new UDF to the client profile. And similar to a keyword, if you ever needed to delete or edit any of your UDFs, you would just come over to this little action button and you could select edit to change either the contents of the UDF or you could delete it as well. You can also do this similar process with keywords as well, except you would just get that edit option once again, and then that delete option too. So we'll head back up to the client profile. We'll go back into Mr. Buzz Lightyear here. And we're going to scroll back down. I don't know if any of you remember, but we did see our user-defined fields earlier. But we're going to come in here and click the option directly next to keywords and tags. So this is where we can add those user-defined fields. We just come up to the right-hand corner and click Add. And now we can select which user-defined field we'd like to add. So we'll come down, we're gonna say, okay, our RMD 2023, and now we have this big open space where we can type maybe took out 200,000 on, ooh, I forgot it's almost Valentine's Day. We're gonna say on the 10th, perfect, 2022. We can also add additional information like needs to take out more before the year ends. And then we can also add follow-up information if needed as well. So one option of many, we can use this any text and fill out all that wonderful, all those wonderful pieces that we might need to identify later. Take out the rest of his money. Awesome. So now we have a nice little area on Buzz's profile after we add that UDF where we can click in and find all that information about RMDs, nice and simple. Now, if we ever needed to remove a user-defined field, it's very similar to a keyword. We would just come over to this little action button and either select edit to maybe change some of that information in here, or we could come back in and delete it. Like I said, it's very similar with keywords. We would just access that action button to remove the keyword from the profile. Excellent. Now, if we wanted to access this information of maybe who has this user-defined field on their profile, we can, similar to keywords, call back or pull up this information in the system. So one important piece of information I will give you all, though, is that we cannot run advanced searches off of user-defined fields. So you can't search this information. We would have to use a report. So we're going to go into our reports. And what's cool about UDFs is if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, we have our specific UDF reports. Now, we focus today on contact user-defined fields. I will mention that you can have account user-defined fields as well. So if you decide, you know, hey, Jackie, I really like this user-defined field option. I like that I can create my own UDFs. You can also create them specifically for your accounts as well. If you decide that maybe there is a piece of information or a phrase or knowledge on the accounts that you need to know about. But we're going to focus on those contact user-defined fields. And from here, we can come up to that filter button similar to the keyword report. And we can either run by a particular contact and see all of their UDFs holistically. So just like Mr. Buzz Lightyear here. It would pull up Buzz's UDFs and we could export that into an Excel spreadsheet or to an easy to read PDF. Or we can filter by a particular UDF. So we can say, oh, I want to see maybe all my RMDs from the previous year. Let's see that RMD 2022. Ooh, let's see. Let's do equal to no. Let's see if anyone didn't take it. Oh, there's no UDFs for that one. That's okay, everyone. We will get this. Oh, there we go. So Miss Elsa has not taken her RMD for 2022 yet. So what we can do, which is really cool with this information, similar to that keyword report, we can come up to that search and we can bring this information over to the advanced search to either use a bulk action with it, or potentially, if we needed to, add another user-defined field. So we can, just like keywords, add user-defined fields in bulk as well. So maybe now that we know Elsa hasn't taken her 2022 RMD, maybe we need to add another user-defined field. So then we can really keep track of what the next steps are for her account. Perfect. Now, I do understand that both of these methods that we went over do require you to have administrative access. So if you're someone who's sitting there going, Jackie, I don't have admin access, or I have clients, or I have not clients, don't let your clients in your system, but I have financial advisors that don't have administrative access, and they need to be able to identify these particular networks within the CRM. Like I need to be able to see my 401k clients, or I need to be able to see my advising clients. Well, that is where a tag group would come in. Now, we do have, like we mentioned earlier, we have 3 main areas we're covering. So far, we've gone over keywords, UDFs, and now it's time to cover those tag groups. And those tag groups do not require admin access. Anyone can create them at any time, and they are a third addition to where you can group clients within the system to identify them easier. Now, tag groups are stagnant groups that you can create in order to pull a list of individuals quickly so that you can work with them as a group. You can apply a tag to an individual record, or you can apply it in bulk too, which is really cool. But they offer an alternative method of putting your clients into easily accessible groupings so that you can return to it as you need. And like I said, you do not have to have administrative access to create one of these. All you need to be able to do is come into either the lists portion and select add new tag group, where you can then pick a name, or you can even actually go into the client profile, which is really cool. So we'll go back into Mr. Buzz Lightyear. He's just been my favorite lately. I love Buzz. Isn't he the best? And we can go back to our keywords and tags portion. And I love this. This is so cool. You can just come into the tag groups and select add. And you might see, okay, Buzz is a part of a lot of tag groups. That's really cool. What we can do here is actually create a new one directly. So we can call this Jackie's clients. Oh, I didn't even capitalize my own name. So we'll call this 2022. And add directly from there. So it's really easy to create one, especially on the fly. One disclaimer I will offer about particularly tag groups: they are stagnant groups. They do not change unless you change them. So that means if we add Buzz, the only way Buzz is going to be removed from this tag group is if I come in here and physically remove him. The system will never make adjustments to your tag groups unless you delete a client. So it's a very safe area to keep your clients in, especially if you maybe don't have access to additional keywords or UDFs. Now, you can also use tag groups to search, which is really cool. So if you come into the advanced search, all we need to do is utilize our type. And one of the last options is tag groups. So we can use our tag groups to narrow down particular information. So if we wanted to go off of maybe a marketing list and run searches based on our marketing list, we could absolutely use our tag group as a platform to narrow down even more information. Now, what's cool is you can still access it from a number of different areas. You can come into the list portion and select tag group, as well as come up to the top right-hand corner, and you can access your tag groups directly from here. Now, if you ever needed to maybe add multiple people to a tag group, you absolutely can, just like with keywords and UDFs. If you come up to contact options and select bulk actions, you can add to a tag group directly from here as well. All we would need to do is type in the designated name and then add all of those clients to that particular group. But it's just designed to save you some clicks and hopefully make things a little bit easier for you and your team. So today we did go over 3 different areas in which we can keep our clients. We talked about keywords, we talked about user-defined fields, and we talked about tag groups. Once again, keywords, if we navigate back to our client profile here, Mr. Buzz Lightyear has been wonderful to us today. Keywords are meant to be those predefined selections. They are used to group similar contacts that maybe wouldn't have a ton in common, and they can also be searched and reported on in the system. User-defined fields are meant to be your DIY field within Redtail. They act as a response to the field name, so they give you more information than a keyword would. Now, you can't search user-defined fields, but you can report on them, and you can add user-defined fields for both the account and the client. And finally, we have tag groups. So we're going to bounce back to tag groups over here. Tag groups are stagnant groups of clients that you can create that might pull a list of individuals quickly to access them within a group. Now, you don't need admin access. This is one of the only sections you do not need admin access to create a group of clients, so anyone can do it in the system. They can also be searched, and they can be added in bulk, just like keywords and user-defined fields. So you have 3 really cool options to choose from when using your lists. Keywords are awesome for those products or identifying or further identifying information on the contact card. User-defined fields are a great way to establish other information that don't exist in the system. And tag groups are perfect ways to group clients in a non-administratively driven way, as well as if you needed to store a mailing list or a group of clients that wouldn't need to be touched and stay stagnant. Excellent, everyone. Now, I know we covered quite a bit today. We will absolutely continue to utilize this information in the future to answer additional questions that you may have. If you do have any additional questions, you can feel free to call our support at our 800-206-5030, option number 3 for our training if you have any additional questions, or you can reach out at support@redtailtechnology.com as well, and give us just a quick explanation of the issue you're having. You can also schedule a one-on-one training with any of our trainers. But thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to hear from you all soon.
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.